Hey guys, tonight we're setting sail into the high seas, but not for a typical pirate adventure. Instead, we're going to explore a much quieter, somewhat overlooked aspect of a pirate's life, nap time. Yep, that's right, pirates, known for their daring, swashbuckling ways, had a surprisingly important practice of napping. You might think of pirates as ruthless, never-tiring warriors, always on the lookout for treasure and adventure, but the truth is, even the fiercest pirates had to find time to rest. And believe it or not, their nap time was a critical part of their survival. So, grab a cozy spot, because we're about to uncover how pirates managed to rest during their chaotic, wind-swept lives on the high seas. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, feel free to share where you're tuning in from and your local time. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Pirates were hardly the picture of constant action. In fact, most pirate crews spent long stretches on their ships, battling boredom, rough seas, and exhaustion. The pirate life was full of danger, excitement, and violence, but it also required incredible stamina. In between skirmishes and treasure hunts, pirates had to find a way to stay alert, energized, and, most importantly, alive. And that's where nap time came in. On a pirate ship, sleep was hardly regular or predictable. Pirates had to manage with whatever rest they could squeeze in, often in short bursts, and the whole crew worked around a schedule known as watch duty. The concept of rest aboard these ships was vital, and it wasn't just about getting some sleep after a battle, it was a crucial part of the day-to-day operations, allowing pirates to be both effective warriors and cunning planners. But how exactly did they pull this off in such chaotic conditions? That's what we're about to explore. Pirates, as you probably know, didn't have the easiest life. Life at sea was harsh, and it wasn't all treasure hunts and lively tavern songs. The realities of pirate life involved a lot of hard, dirty work, long hours of navigation, and constant risk. The ship was their world, and the sea their home, no soft beds or climate-controlled rooms. Instead, they had the harsh elements of the ocean, the constant threat of naval battles, and the wear and tear of life at sea to contend with. And with all of this, sleep was a precious commodity that pirates had to grab whenever they could, often in odd, uncomfortable ways. Pirates didn't have the luxury of sleeping in a warm, quiet cabin like the kings and queens back on land. Instead, they had to make do with whatever space was available on deck. Often, that meant squeezing in a nap on the hard wood of the ship or using hammocks slung up between the beams. The rocking of the ship, the constant noise, and the exposure to the elements made sleep difficult at best. And yet, despite all of this, pirates had to sleep, because, as anyone who's been sleep-deprived knows, you can't function properly without rest. If you've ever tried to get through a long day on little sleep, you'll understand the importance of finding those precious moments to shut your eyes, even if you're in the middle of a chaotic, unpredictable environment. But how did pirates handle all this? Their days on the high seas were often split between taking watch and working on the ship, and despite the constant movement and activity, pirates had to find some time to rest. The hard life of a pirate demanded flexibility when it came to sleep. They weren't able to enjoy a full, uninterrupted night of rest, so they took short naps when and where they could. These naps, sometimes just a brief hour or two, would give them the energy they needed to stay alert on watch, be effective during combat, and carry out the necessary duties of life at sea. This unconventional sleep schedule was often dictated by the shifting nature of pirate ships, where the crew had to rotate shifts to maintain vigilance at all times. Historians still argue whether pirates' irregular sleep habits were the result of their unpredictable lifestyle or if it was simply a strategy for managing the intensity of life on the water. Some believe pirates had to stay up for long stretches, taking short naps in between battles and watching for any signs of danger. Others suggest that the necessity of napping was part of the pirate code. Getting rest, even for a few moments, was essential to being a successful pirate. Whatever the reason, it's clear that rest, even in small doses, was vital to maintaining energy and keeping up with the demands of pirate life. As you relax tonight, picture yourself aboard a pirate ship. The wind is howling, the ocean waves are crashing against the hull, and yet, you find yourself grabbing a moment of peace, curling up in your hammock, and letting the gentle rocking of the ship lull you to sleep. Like the pirates, you too need rest, no matter how chaotic life may feel. Sleep, even in brief intervals, is your secret weapon for staying alert and effective as you navigate your own daily challenges. Now that we've set the scene with the hardships of pirate life, it's time to take a closer look at the actual sleep schedule pirates followed. This wasn't your typical 9 to 5 routine, no, pirates had to adapt to the unpredictable rhythms of life on the high seas. The concept of a structured, regular sleep schedule didn't really exist for them. Instead, pirates worked in shifts, known as watches, and their sleep was arranged around these rotating schedules. The reality was, sleep was always secondary to the ship's needs and the crew's responsibilities. Pirates typically worked in a system of 4-hour shifts, where they would take turns standing watch over the ship. During their watch, they had to stay alert to look out for enemy ships, reefs, or any other dangers. This meant that while some pirates were awake and on duty, others were trying to get some much-needed rest. But here's the catch: when you're on a pirate ship, resting doesn't exactly mean cozying up with a warm blanket. It usually meant catching a quick nap between shifts. The constant movement of the ship, the noise, and the lack of privacy meant that pirates had to make do with whatever rest they could get. And this lack of structured sleep often resulted in irregular rest cycles. When a pirate wasn't on watch, they might be tasked with other duties, cleaning the ship, handling cargo, or maintaining weapons. These jobs didn't allow for much free time, but once their shift was over, they had a few precious hours to sleep. But, sleep wasn't always easy to come by. The limited space on the ship meant that many pirates shared hammocks, and the crowded conditions didn't help matters. Sleep often came in brief intervals, snatched between work and watch shifts. A pirate might sleep for a few hours before being roused for their next shift, and it wasn't uncommon for them to feel exhausted and deprived of sleep. Yet, this constant cycle of wakefulness and rest was the reality of pirate life. Historians still debate how effective this sleep schedule was in the long run. Some argue that the erratic sleep patterns pirates followed were detrimental to their health and performance. The lack of sleep and the mental fatigue from constantly being on alert could have led to poor decision-making and mistakes during battles or navigation. Others suggest that pirates became accustomed to the irregularity of their sleep and were able to adjust to the constant shifts, maintaining a certain level of energy despite the challenges. Either way, what's clear is that pirates didn't have the luxury of a regular sleep schedule like we do today. They were constantly balancing the need for rest with the demands of life at sea. While we might think of pirates as fearless adventurers who never tire, the reality is that their lives were exhausting. And yet, the necessity of naps, those short bursts of sleep that pirates managed to fit in between their duties, was critical to their survival. Sleep deprivation was an inevitable part of their daily routine, but pirates managed to find ways to cope, using brief moments of rest to recharge. So, as you settle in for your own restful sleep tonight, imagine what it must have been like for those pirates, catching a few winks whenever they could, knowing that at any moment, they might have to spring into action. As we continue to explore pirate sleep habits, we must take a closer look at the concept of watch and its impact on the way pirates rested. On a pirate ship, the schedule was organized around a rotating system of watches, where different members of the crew were assigned to be on lookout for specific periods of time, ensuring the safety of the ship from threats like enemy vessels, reefs, or storms. These watches often lasted for 4 hours, and the crew worked in shifts. The timing of these watches and the way they were organized had a direct effect on the amount and quality of sleep pirates were able to get. The concept of watch wasn't just about staying awake and alert, it was a crucial responsibility. Pirates had to be on the lookout for potential threats at all times, and there were no safety nets. The idea that pirates were simply lounging around in between battles is far from the reality. Their lives were filled with constant vigilance, and being on watch meant that they had to be prepared for anything. While some might think of pirates as carefree adventurers, the truth is that their time on the high seas was defined by a constant cycle of working, watching, and attempting to rest whenever possible. Pirates' sleep schedules weren't as predictable as ours today, because they were always working in shifts. One crew member might be assigned to the first watch, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., while another was on the second watch, from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., and so on. Because these watches were so irregular, sleep could never be fully uninterrupted. A pirate might rest for a few hours in between shifts, but this was hardly the restorative sleep we would consider good sleep today. Imagine trying to sleep when you know that at any moment, you might have to leap out of bed and grab your weapons or take control of the ship. The sleep pirates managed to get was fractured and fragmented, creating a constant cycle of exhaustion and alertness. One of the key challenges pirates faced was the unpredictable nature of their work and environment. The ship itself was often rocking with the movement of the ocean, making sleep difficult to begin with. The sounds of the creaking ship, the occasional crash of waves, and the bustling activity of the crew meant that quiet moments were few and far between. Pirates had to sleep in whatever space was available, usually cramped hammocks or the hard deck of the ship, and even if they were technically off duty, there was always the underlying tension of the ship's constant motion and the threat of attack. Historians still debate how much the watch system impacted the physical and mental well-being of pirates. Some argue that the irregular sleep patterns and constant state of readiness likely led to significant health issues over time, such as exhaustion, weakened immune systems, and mental fatigue. The lack of consistent rest might have made pirates more susceptible to illness or injury, especially when battling in dangerous conditions. On the other hand, some historians suggest that pirates were accustomed to these sleep patterns and became adept at managing their energy. They might have taken short, strategic naps between shifts, using the few hours of downtime to recharge just enough to stay alert during their next watch. Regardless of the scholarly debate, what's clear is that pirates were not getting the kind of rest we think of today. Their lives were filled with irregular work schedules, the constant threat of danger, and little opportunity to fully disconnect from the duties of the ship. As you drift into sleep tonight, take a moment to consider the lives of these pirates. While we may struggle to find time for rest in our busy lives, at least we don't have to stay alert to enemy ships while navigating unpredictable seas. Now that we've looked at how the watch system shaped pirate sleep schedules, let's dive into the actual sleeping arrangements on board a pirate ship. Unlike the cushy beds we're used to in modern times, pirates had to make do with whatever space they could find. The living conditions on pirate ships were cramped, often uncomfortable, and definitely not conducive to a good night's rest. The typical pirate ship was a small, crowded vessel, where space was at a premium. Between the duties of the crew, the demands of ship life, and the constant risk of danger, finding a proper place to sleep wasn't easy. Imagine yourself aboard a pirate ship. There's a constant creak of the wooden planks beneath your feet, the smell of salt water in the air, and the sound of waves crashing around you. Pirates didn't have the luxury of private quarters. Instead, the crew slept in communal spaces, often crammed together in a small area with little to no privacy. They used hammocks, slung up between the beams of the ship, as their resting place. While these hammocks were designed to be more comfortable than the hard wooden deck, they still left much to be desired. The constant motion of the ship made sleeping in them a challenge, and the noise of the ship and the crew often interrupted sleep, especially if a pirate had to wake up for a shift or to handle an emergency. The hammocks weren't just uncomfortable, they were a practical solution to the limited space on board. A hammock could be stowed easily when not in use, allowing the crew to maximize the limited space. But with pirates working in shifts and the constant movement of the ship, there was little chance for uninterrupted sleep. The rock of the ship on the waves, combined with the confined spaces, meant that even a pirate who managed to secure a hammock would still have trouble getting deep, restorative sleep. The best you could hope for was a brief, somewhat restful nap between shifts, before you were roused to handle more work or to take your turn on watch. But the discomfort wasn't limited to just the physical environment. The psychological toll of life at sea also played a role in the pirates' sleep struggles. Imagine the constant danger they faced, not only the threat of enemy ships, but also the ever-present risk of illness, injury, and the harsh conditions of living aboard a ship. Pirates often dealt with poor hygiene, limited medical care, and the stress of living in such an unpredictable and dangerous environment. It's no wonder that sleep, even when it was possible, wasn't always restful. The anxiety and fatigue from these conditions meant that pirates might be physically tired but mentally unable to rest fully, their minds racing with thoughts of what might come next. Historians still debate the true effects of these living conditions on the health of pirates. Some argue that the lack of proper sleep, combined with the poor hygiene and constant stress, led to many pirates suffering from chronic illnesses or mental fatigue. Others suggest that pirates adapted to these conditions, learning how to catch short naps and power through long shifts of work and watch without the luxury of a full night's sleep. Regardless of which theory holds more weight, it's clear that the pirate lifestyle was exhausting, and sleep was rarely a peaceful or comfortable experience. As you lie down to sleep tonight, think of how different your bed is from the conditions that pirates endured. Imagine the constant motion of the ship, the cramped hammock, and the lack of privacy and comfort. While we may take our comfortable beds for granted, pirates had to make do with what they had. They were tough, resourceful, and able to find moments of rest even in the harshest of environments. Their ability to rest, however briefly, was critical to their survival on the high seas, allowing them to continue their work and adventures despite the challenges of their circumstances. Now that we've explored the cramped and often uncomfortable sleeping arrangements on pirate ships, let's look at how pirates actually managed to rest, despite the many challenges they faced. Given the unpredictable nature of their days, with constant work and watch shifts, pirates had to master the art of the short, power nap. In fact, one of the most important survival strategies for a pirate wasn't how long they slept, but how well they could take advantage of short bursts of rest throughout the day. The concept of a power nap as we know it today wasn't exactly coined in the time of pirates, but in essence, that's exactly what they practiced. Pirates didn't have the luxury of long, uninterrupted hours of sleep. Instead, they would take quick naps, sometimes just a half hour or an hour long, whenever the opportunity presented itself. This was especially true during periods of downtime when they weren't on watch, working, or dealing with any immediate crises. For many pirates, a nap might happen on the hard deck of the ship or in the relative comfort of a hammock, even as the ship rocked beneath them. Despite the less-than-ideal sleeping conditions, these short naps helped pirates refresh themselves for the next shift or task. Historians still debate how effective these short naps actually were. Some argue that the human body, given proper sleep cycles, needs several uninterrupted hours of rest to function at its best, meaning pirates likely suffered from long-term sleep deprivation. Others suggest that, given the physical stamina required for pirate life, short, strategic naps could have been just as effective at keeping pirates alert and functional. The idea of using naps to stay sharp and preserve energy has become a widely accepted strategy in modern workplaces and military environments, and pirates may have intuitively understood this centuries ago. They didn't have the luxury of a full night's sleep, so they adapted by taking brief rest periods to keep their energy up during the long, grueling hours at sea. Pirates who were well rested, even in short bursts, were able to remain alert during their watch shifts, ready to defend their ship at a moment's notice. These naps were essential for maintaining the focus needed for navigation, spotting enemy ships, or keeping watch for any dangerous obstacles at sea. A full night's sleep might have been a rare luxury, but pirates learned to make do with what they could get. It's said that sleep deprivation could lead to poor decision-making, accidents, and decreased physical performance, so these quick naps helped them stay sharp and avoid those pitfalls. This ability to rest on the go also contributed to the resilience of pirates. They knew how to use their time efficiently and adapt to their environment, which made them particularly well-suited to life at sea. The combination of physical toughness, mental alertness, and strategic rest allowed pirates to endure the grueling, irregular schedule that came with their lifestyle. For many pirates, taking advantage of these short periods of rest was a matter of survival. While the modern world might have us focusing on getting a solid 8 hours of sleep every night, the pirate approach was based on quick, practical bursts of rest. Whether it was a nap in the middle of the day or a few stolen hours of sleep between shifts, pirates understood the importance of finding any opportunity to rest when they could. In some ways, their survival depended on it. So, as you relax tonight and prepare for your own rest, think of how pirates would steal a few moments of sleep whenever they could, despite the discomfort of the ship and the unpredictable nature of life on the high seas. We, too, have moments where we must adapt to our circumstances and rest in whatever way we can. Like the pirates of old, we sometimes have to find brief moments to recharge and stay sharp for whatever challenges the day ahead might bring. As we've seen, pirates had a rather unconventional sleep schedule, with brief naps and fragmented rest, but there's another interesting layer to their relationship with sleep, and it involves alcohol. Rum, in particular, was a major part of pirate life, and it had a noticeable effect on their ability to sleep. Alcohol was a staple on pirate ships, not just for enjoyment but for practical reasons as well. Pirates didn't have the luxury of clean, reliable water sources on the open sea, so they often turned to rum or other alcoholic beverages as a substitute. This constant presence of alcohol in their lives inevitably affected their sleep patterns, adding another layer to their unique approach to rest. In fact, rum was so central to pirate life that it became almost synonymous with the pirate persona. The infamous image of pirates swigging rum, singing sea shanties, and living a carefree, rebellious life at sea isn't just a romanticized notion, it had roots in the reality of pirate culture. On a pirate ship, rum was considered essential, and it was often consumed in large quantities. Pirates drank it to celebrate after a successful raid, to pass the time during long voyages, or simply to ease the discomfort of life at sea. And because alcohol was so prevalent, it played a significant role in pirate sleep habits, especially in terms of how it influenced their ability to relax and unwind. But alcohol, as we all know, has a double-edged effect. While a drink might help you unwind after a long day, it can also disrupt the quality of sleep. A few too many swigs of rum could lull a pirate into a deep, heavy sleep, but it wasn't exactly restful. Alcohol may have allowed pirates to fall asleep quickly, but it often prevented them from entering the deeper, restorative stages of sleep that the body needs to truly recover. Still, pirates were used to this. After all, they rarely had the luxury of uninterrupted, high-quality sleep anyway. A few hours of rum-induced slumber might have been enough to get them through their next shift, especially if they had no other choice but to get some rest on the go. Historians debate whether alcohol played a more positive or negative role in pirate sleep habits. Some argue that the effect of alcohol on pirate sleep was largely detrimental, contributing to exhaustion and mental fog, which could affect their performance during a fight or while navigating treacherous waters. Others suggest that, in a world filled with constant stress and danger, alcohol served as a form of coping mechanism that allowed pirates to relax and temporarily escape the brutal realities of life at sea. Whatever the case, it's clear that alcohol played a pivotal role in pirate culture, not just in terms of their social lives, but also in shaping their relationship with sleep. While modern health guidelines advise against relying on alcohol to help with sleep, pirates didn't have the luxury of such knowledge. They turned to rum for its immediate effects, getting them to sleep when they needed it most. But this wasn't always ideal. The disruption of their sleep cycles, combined with their constant vigilance on watch shifts and the harsh conditions of life on board, made true rest a rare commodity. As you settle into your own sleep tonight, think about the pirates of old and their relationship with alcohol. Imagine them on the high seas, a bottle of rum in hand, trying to relax and rest before the next battle or adventure. While we might enjoy a drink to unwind from time to time, the pirates didn't have that luxury. They were forced to rely on rum not only for leisure but also as a way to get through their fragmented sleep schedule. Though the rum might have helped them relax, it was a reminder of the harsher realities of life at sea, where sleep was fleeting and often interrupted. Now that we've explored how alcohol affected pirate sleep, let's shift our attention to another major factor that influenced how pirates rested on the high seas, the constant movement of the ship. If you've ever tried to sleep in a moving vehicle, you know how difficult it can be. The rocking motion, the swaying, the shifts in balance, these all combine to make sleep a much trickier proposition. Now, imagine trying to sleep on a pirate ship, a wooden vessel tossed around by the unpredictable rhythms of the ocean. This was the reality for pirates, and it was one of the biggest challenges they faced when trying to catch a bit of rest. Pirates, much like other sailors of the time, had to contend with the movement of the ship. Whether the seas were calm or stormy, the rocking and swaying of the ship were constant, and this made sleep on board difficult. The crew's living spaces were small and cramped, often below deck in close quarters where the motion of the ship could be felt even more acutely. Sleeping on a hard wooden surface, with waves rocking the ship in unpredictable ways, wasn't just uncomfortable, it was physically demanding. Even when pirates managed to fall asleep, the constant motion could cause them to wake up frequently throughout the night, unable to fully rest. The design of pirate ships didn't do much to help the situation. These vessels were built for speed and durability, not comfort, and they didn't have stabilizers or the luxury of modern conveniences like air conditioning or proper bedding. The crew slept in hammocks that swayed with the ship's movements, but the position of the hammocks themselves often made it difficult to sleep comfortably. Pirates would use whatever space they could find for a nap, sometimes even on the open deck, where the constant motion made a good night's rest nearly impossible. Historians still debate how much the ship's movement impacted the quality of sleep pirates were able to get. Some argue that pirates adapted to the constant rocking over time, becoming so used to it that they could sleep through the motion. Others suggest that the lack of stable rest had a more detrimental effect, contributing to the exhaustion and fatigue that plagued pirates during long voyages. Some scholars even believe that the constant motion of the ship led to physical issues for sailors, such as neck and back pain, from the awkward positions they had to sleep in. The discomfort caused by the rocking of the ship would likely have added to the mental and physical strain of life at sea. Regardless of the debate, one thing is certain: the movement of the ship was a major factor in how pirates rested and slept. The motion made it difficult to get truly restful sleep, and pirates often had to rely on brief, fragmented naps between shifts. The physical toll of the ship's movement, combined with the challenges of life on board, meant that pirates were often sleep-deprived, making them more vulnerable to illness, injury, and poor decision-making. But, as with many other aspects of their lives, pirates adapted to these conditions, finding ways to sleep whenever they could, despite the limitations. As you relax tonight and prepare for your own restful sleep, imagine what it would be like to sleep on a pirate ship. The constant motion of the waves, the creaking of the ship, and the limited space would make a good night's sleep a true challenge. And yet, pirates managed to get the rest they needed, even in the most uncomfortable of circumstances. Perhaps we can draw some inspiration from their resilience, as we too navigate the challenges of our busy lives, finding moments to rest and recharge, even when the world around us is constantly moving. While we've covered the difficult realities of pirate life and how they managed to rest amid the constant motion of the ship, there's another aspect to their relaxation practices that's worth exploring. While naps and alcohol played important roles in their ability to recharge, pirates also relied on other techniques to find moments of peace and relaxation during their long voyages. Life at sea was stressful, with constant risks, isolation, and the demands of shipboard work. And yet, pirates found ways to maintain their mental and physical health, at least to some extent. One of the ways pirates relaxed was through physical exercise. Pirates were known for their physical strength and agility, and this wasn't just due to their roles in combat. When they weren't engaged in the heavy work of sailing, navigating, or fighting, pirates often kept themselves occupied by doing things that helped them stay in good shape. Exercise aboard a pirate ship might include activities like climbing the rigging, handling the sails, or even sparring with one another for fun and training. These activities, while physically demanding, also provided a mental break from the stresses of pirate life. They allowed pirates to release tension and frustrations in a more constructive way, helping to clear their minds and stay focused. In addition to physical exercise, pirates also found time to bond with one another and unwind socially. Even the most hardened pirates needed companionship, and the camaraderie among the crew played an important role in their overall well-being. Pirates often spent their free time telling stories, playing music, or engaging in games of chance or cards. This sense of community helped pirates deal with the isolation and stress of long voyages. Sharing stories of past adventures or discussing plans for the next raid could help alleviate the monotony and bring a sense of comfort and belonging to the crew. The social atmosphere on pirate ships was one of shared experience, where everyone, regardless of their rank, was part of a close-knit community. This collective spirit, while not always peaceful or harmonious, contributed to pirates' ability to cope with the pressures of life at sea. Historians still debate how much of this social bonding was based on genuine camaraderie versus the necessity of survival in such a demanding environment. Some suggest that while pirates often formed close friendships, the chaotic and dangerous nature of their lifestyle meant that alliances were often temporary, based on necessity rather than long-term loyalty. Others argue that pirates truly formed tight-knit communities, where bonds were forged through shared hardship and the common goal of survival. Regardless of the depth of their friendships, one thing is clear: pirates found solace in their relationships with each other. These moments of socializing, whether through games or storytelling, were vital to maintaining morale and mental health. Another important way pirates managed relaxation was through their limited but cherished moments of leisure. When the ship wasn't actively engaged in a raid or battle, and the waters were calm, pirates could occasionally enjoy some downtime. This might involve simply lying on the deck of the ship, basking in the sun, or enjoying the quiet of the sea. It wasn't much, but these moments of peace offered pirates a much-needed respite from the constant action and vigilance. With the constant stress of their lives, these moments of stillness were a rare form of relaxation. They allowed pirates to clear their minds, regain their energy, and prepare for whatever lay ahead. Historians continue to debate how these techniques impacted pirates' long-term health. Was the occasional downtime and physical exercise enough to counterbalance the toll of constant danger, poor nutrition, and lack of sleep? Some believe that while pirates were incredibly resilient, their lifestyle ultimately led to premature aging, illness, and psychological stress. Others suggest that the social bonds, exercise, and brief moments of peace allowed pirates to thrive for much longer than expected, despite the hardships they faced. Either way, it's clear that pirates had a complex and adaptive approach to relaxation, finding ways to recharge and stay mentally sharp despite the difficult conditions of life at sea. As you settle into your own sleep tonight, consider how pirates adapted to their surroundings, finding moments of relaxation and escape amidst their demanding lives. Whether through physical exercise, socializing with their crew, or simply enjoying rare moments of peace on the ship, pirates managed to balance the stress of their world with the need for rest. Like them, we too must find moments of calm in our busy lives, whether it's through a little physical activity, spending time with friends, or simply taking a moment to breathe and recharge. Life may be full of challenges, but we can all find ways to unwind and keep our minds sharp for whatever lies ahead. When you think of pirates, you probably imagine them as fearless warriors, always ready for a fight or an adventure. And while that image is certainly true, pirates, like any other sailors or soldiers, had to sleep even during the most chaotic and dangerous times. In fact, one of the most surprising aspects of pirate life was their ability to steal naps, even during battles. It might sound strange, but pirates, known for their resilience and adaptability, learned to rest when they could, even amidst the chaos of combat. The reality of pirate life was that rest, while crucial, was often interrupted by the constant threat of attack. Imagine yourself on a pirate ship in the midst of a heated naval battle. Cannons are firing, the ship is rocking violently, and the crew is scrambling to handle the sails and weapons. But somehow, in the midst of all this, a pirate might manage to steal a nap. It might seem impossible. How could anyone sleep while surrounded by such noise and violence? Yet, pirates were trained to stay alert, and their bodies and minds adapted to the high-stress environment. Pirates understood that even in the heat of battle, sleep was necessary to keep their energy levels up and maintain their ability to fight. Pirates didn't always sleep during the peak of battle, but the moments between fights or during the quieter periods of a skirmish were often perfect for catching a quick nap. When the ship wasn't directly engaged in battle, or if there was a lull in the fighting, pirates would rest where they could, even if it was just for a few minutes. The ability to sleep quickly and deeply in short bursts was vital for staying sharp. In some ways, it was a survival tactic. The pirate lifestyle was physically and mentally demanding, and the ability to take a brief, restful nap allowed them to recharge just enough to stay alert for the next wave of action. Historians still debate whether pirates were actually able to sleep during battles or if this idea has been exaggerated by myth. Some suggest that pirates may have used those brief moments of downtime during battles to nap, while others argue that it's unlikely anyone could sleep through the noise and chaos of a fight. Some believe that pirates, who often had to live in cramped quarters and go without proper rest, were simply so accustomed to sleeping in uncomfortable conditions that they could doze off even in the most chaotic environments. Others point out that the adrenaline of battle would make it impossible to sleep. Whatever the truth is, it's clear that pirates knew the value of rest and found ways to get it when they could. For pirates, the ability to rest during battle was a crucial skill. In the face of danger, a few minutes of sleep could make all the difference. It helped them stay focused, refreshed, and ready to act when the time came. And even though their lives were filled with danger, long hours at sea, and constant battles, pirates understood that sleep was essential to their ability to perform in the moment. It wasn't about sleeping through the entire battle, it was about finding those precious moments to recharge, just enough to keep going. As you drift off to sleep tonight, think of the pirates navigating the seas, the weight of their swords and the thrill of the chase, all while stealing short moments of rest. While it may seem impossible to sleep under such conditions, pirates managed to find ways to rest even when the world around them was in turmoil. Like them, we too have moments of rest in our busy lives, even during stressful times. Whether we're dealing with a hectic day at work or facing challenges in our personal lives, we can find small moments of peace, just enough to recharge and tackle the next challenge with renewed energy. As we continue to explore the peculiarities of pirate life, we can't overlook the physical toll that their irregular sleep schedules, harsh living conditions, and constant danger had on their health. Life aboard a pirate ship was demanding, not just because of the work required, but because of the lack of sleep, the poor quality of rest, and the physical strain caused by the ship's environment. Pirates may have been tough, but their bodies were under constant stress, and their health often suffered as a result. Pirates were often on the move, fighting off enemies, navigating treacherous waters, and engaging in dangerous activities like climbing the rigging or hauling heavy cargo. But the physical labor wasn't the only issue they faced. The cramped and uncomfortable living spaces on board meant that sleep was far from restful. As we've discussed, pirates slept in hammocks or on hard deck surfaces, which meant they weren't getting the kind of restorative sleep they needed to fully recover from their exertions. The constant movement of the ship made it difficult to sleep deeply, and the noise of the crew, the creaking of the ship, and the ever-present rocking of the vessel added to the difficulty of getting a good night's rest. Historians still argue how much the lack of sleep contributed to the ill health of pirates. Some suggest that the physical toll of life at sea, combined with sleep deprivation, could have led to mental and physical exhaustion. Over time, this exhaustion could have contributed to poor decision-making, irritability, and even impaired cognitive function. Pirates were often faced with long stretches of difficult work, and they didn't always have time for rest. Their bodies were constantly in motion, whether it was swabbing the deck or fighting off an enemy ship. So, despite the occasional nap here and there, the overall quality of their sleep likely took a toll on their long-term health. In addition to sleep deprivation, pirates also had to deal with a host of other health problems. Poor hygiene, lack of proper medical care, and exposure to harsh conditions contributed to a variety of ailments. Diseases like scurvy were common among sailors, including pirates, due to their lack of access to fresh fruits and vegetables. The long voyages and limited food supplies often led to malnutrition, and the lack of sleep and rest exacerbated these issues. A lack of vitamin C, which could have been obtained from fresh fruits, contributed to the development of scurvy, leading to swollen gums, fatigue, and even death in severe cases. While pirates might have been good at fighting battles, they weren't so great at fighting illness, and their bodies often paid the price. Pirates also had to deal with injuries sustained during their adventures. The violent nature of their lifestyle meant that cuts, bruises, and other injuries were common. Without proper medical care, these injuries could easily become infected. The lack of sleep and poor health could have made pirates more susceptible to infections, prolonging recovery and weakening their ability to function effectively. It's not hard to imagine how the combination of poor nutrition, lack of proper rest, and the harsh living conditions could have led to chronic health problems for many pirates. Despite these challenges, pirates managed to survive, sometimes for years, on the high seas, showing incredible resilience. But their health was often compromised, and it's likely that many pirates didn't live long, healthy lives. While their adventures and escapades are romanticized in popular culture, the reality of pirate life was grueling and unhealthy. Their ability to continue fighting, plundering, and navigating the seas, despite the toll on their health, speaks to the strength and determination they must have had. They didn't have the luxuries of modern medicine or the comforts of modern life. Instead, they relied on their toughness and the occasional nap to keep them going. As you prepare for your own rest tonight, consider the pirates' struggle for sleep and their constant battle against exhaustion and illness. In contrast to our modern comforts, where we have access to good sleep, nutrition, and medical care, pirates lived in a world that demanded constant endurance. They made do with what they had, relying on short bursts of rest and their physical and mental strength to carry them through the long, hard days of pirate life. It's a reminder that even when life gets tough, we can find moments to rest and recharge, allowing us to keep going in the face of challenges, just as the pirates did in their own time. While pirates may have had their own unique sleep schedules and challenges on the high seas, their habits were not formed in isolation. Pirates were a product of many cultures, drawing influences from sailors, explorers, and adventurers from all corners of the world. These various cultures, from the European powers to the indigenous people they encountered, all had their own approaches to rest and relaxation, and many of these traditions found their way into pirate life. Just as pirates adopted the customs of navigation, battle tactics, and seafaring skills from different civilizations, they also incorporated various relaxation techniques, including unique approaches to nap time, that had been passed down through generations of sailors and sea explorers. Take, for example, the Mediterranean sailors of the ancient world. The Greeks and Romans, who were some of the earliest pioneers of naval warfare and exploration, developed strategies for sleep based on the necessity of staying alert during long voyages. These sailors, much like pirates centuries later, had to adjust to irregular and interrupted sleep schedules. The concept of cat naps or short periods of rest, while on guard duty or in between activities, was commonplace. The idea of short, restorative sleep cycles wasn't exclusive to pirates, but was embedded in the wider maritime culture that influenced pirate customs. The practice of catching a few minutes of sleep when possible, rather than a solid block of rest, became an accepted part of life for sailors in general. Similarly, the Dutch and Portuguese sailors who sailed the high seas centuries before the golden age of piracy also developed their own systems of rest while navigating distant waters. Their work was often similar to that of pirates, long periods of waiting, watching, and working, and they too relied on power naps during off hours. The influence of these early sailors helped shape the pirate approach to nap time on ships. Pirates, particularly those working as privateers for European nations, would likely have adopted these maritime practices. Their own unique watch system for guarding the ship, where a crew member would stand watch for hours and then rotate with another, was an effective method for staying alert while also allowing crew members to rest for brief periods. Historians still argue over the extent to which pirates borrowed from these earlier seafaring traditions. Some suggest that pirates were largely independent in developing their own system of rest, a system born out of necessity rather than cultural influence. Others believe that pirates, much like other sailors of their time, were heavily influenced by the broader maritime culture, which included the necessity of power naps and short, segmented sleep patterns. The reality is likely a mix of both influences. Pirates certainly adapted to their unique lifestyle, but they also built upon centuries of seafaring wisdom and cultural practices. Beyond the European influence, pirates were also exposed to the rest of the world as they plundered foreign shores. In the Caribbean, for instance, pirates interacted with indigenous cultures that had their own ways of dealing with rest. Native tribes in the Americas, such as the Taino people, had their own rituals and customs around rest, and it's possible that pirates picked up some of these practices. Though the details of these interactions are less clear, it's likely that pirates learned new ways of relaxing during their travels to different parts of the world. In a more direct sense, the Caribbean itself, where much of piracy flourished, had a unique tropical environment that influenced the way pirates rested. The warm, humid climate, combined with the long hours of grueling work, made rest even more essential. Pirates, like the native people they encountered, adapted their nap times to the rhythm of the islands. The heat and constant motion of the ship or land meant that pirates couldn't afford long hours of sleep, so they had to make the most of what little rest they could get. This influence of various cultures on pirate life isn't just about sleep habits, it's also about the adaptability that made pirates so successful. Pirates weren't just rogues and rebels, they were survivors, navigating different seas and cultures, constantly adjusting to new environments. Their ability to adapt to different cultural practices, whether it was handling a weapon, navigating unfamiliar waters, or finding moments to rest, was key to their success on the high seas. As you relax into your own sleep tonight, think of how pirates adapted to the challenges of their time. Their ability to navigate different cultures, adopt various practices, and create their own rhythm of rest allowed them to survive and thrive in a chaotic world. Like them, we too must be adaptable, finding ways to recharge and stay resilient amidst the demands of our daily lives. As the golden age of piracy began to wane, the lifestyle of pirates underwent a dramatic transformation. The decline of pirate activity in the early 18th century, spurred by increasing naval power from European nations and the shift toward more organized maritime law enforcement, eventually brought an end to many of the unique practices associated with pirate life, including the irregular sleep schedules and the nap time culture that we've discussed. Pirate crews, who once found refuge in their brief, fragmented naps, were soon replaced by more disciplined, law-abiding sailors in the professional navies of European powers. With the rise of modern navies, pirates were forced to either integrate into more conventional military life or fade into obscurity, and along with them, their unique approach to rest. The decline of piracy was largely due to a combination of factors: improved naval technology, a more organized system of law enforcement, and, notably, the end of the most profitable piracy hotspots like the Caribbean. As naval ships became more powerful, the piracy that once thrived in these areas was pushed into decline. Pirates, once operating with a great degree of freedom and independence, were now forced to contend with well-organized naval fleets dedicated to eradicating piracy. As piracy became less viable, many pirates turned to more traditional professions or were captured and executed. The freewheeling, chaotic lifestyle of a pirate, complete with its fractured, flexible sleep schedules, disappeared as pirates were increasingly absorbed into more structured military roles. The rise of more formalized military structures and schedules led to the decline of the relaxed, irregular sleep patterns that had been a hallmark of pirate life. Whereas pirates had relied on short bursts of rest between their chaotic duties, the disciplined naval forces of the time had regular, scheduled shifts, with strict rules around sleep and rest. In these naval environments, sleep was seen as a necessary part of maintaining alertness and readiness, but unlike pirate nap time, it followed the rhythm of the organized shift work typical of military life. The shift toward regimented schedules meant pirates had to adapt or abandon their old ways of operating. Moreover, with the decline of pirate ships and the shift toward more stable, structured life at sea, the once necessary practice of stealing naps at odd times became obsolete. Pirates no longer had the freedom to sleep whenever they could. Instead, they found themselves bound by the discipline of professional navy life, which left little room for the indulgence of pirate nap time. The transition from the unpredictable, dangerous life of a pirate to the more regulated environment of naval service essentially marked the end of this unique practice. Historians still debate whether the decline of pirate nap time was a sad loss of freedom or simply a necessary adjustment to the changing world of maritime law and order. Some argue that pirates, with their unpredictable sleep cycles and constant vigilance, had a level of resilience that allowed them to adapt to the chaos of their world, and their ability to power nap was a reflection of that. Others suggest that the rise of professional navies brought about a needed shift, where order and discipline ultimately made piracy, and its erratic sleeping habits, untenable. The changing world order made it harder for pirates to sustain the lifestyle that had once allowed them to live freely on the high seas, and their irregular nap times became just another casualty of that decline. As pirates faded into history, the practice of stealing a quick nap whenever possible also disappeared. Yet, the idea of power naps, brief moments of rest to stay alert and refreshed, has endured in modern times. Today, we recognize the value of taking short breaks to recharge, whether in a high-stress job or during a hectic day. While our naps may not be on the high seas with the threat of a naval battle looming, the principle of finding time to rest when we can is one that remains as relevant as ever. The legacy of pirate nap time may be gone, but its influence on modern approaches to rest and relaxation lives on. So, as you settle in tonight, take a moment to reflect on the pirate lifestyle, not just the bold, swashbuckling adventures, but the quiet moments of rest that helped them survive on the high seas. Their naps, though brief and often taken in less than ideal circumstances, were a reminder of the necessity of rest, even when faced with the most challenging of environments. In the same way, we too must find time to recharge, even in the most chaotic of days. As we look back on the life of pirates and their irregular, fragmented sleep schedules, it's impossible not to appreciate the legacy of their nap time in modern culture. While the golden age of piracy is long over, the habits of pirates, particularly their approach to sleep and relaxation, have left a lasting impact on how we think about rest today. Pirate naps, those quick moments of sleep snatched between the demands of watch duty and hard work, might seem like an odd, quirky aspect of pirate life, but their legacy continues to influence how we approach our own rest, especially in our fast-paced, modern world. In the 21st century, we're often faced with long work hours, endless to-do lists, and the need to remain alert in situations that demand constant attention. This has led to the rise of the concept of power napping, short, strategic periods of sleep meant to recharge our energy and improve our focus. While power napping may not have been a term in the pirate lexicon, it's essentially the same idea, using brief moments of rest to stay sharp and functional. The pirates of the high seas knew that without enough rest, their ability to perform in battles or on raids would suffer. Similarly, modern professionals, students, and even athletes have learned that brief naps can enhance cognitive function, creativity, and overall productivity. Historians still debate the true effectiveness of the pirate nap, particularly as it relates to their overall well-being. Some argue that pirates, through their constant sleep deprivation and stress, would have suffered long-term health consequences. Chronic lack of sleep likely led to physical and mental exhaustion, making pirates vulnerable to illness and injury. Others suggest that the quick naps, combined with the adrenaline of life at sea, might have helped pirates stay more alert during their duties, contributing to their legendary endurance. In either case, the practice of napping, even if not ideal, was an integral part of pirate survival, ensuring they could keep fighting, navigating, and raiding despite the challenges they faced. This idea of short, efficient rest for optimal performance has continued to gain traction in modern-day work culture. Whether it's an office worker sneaking in a 20-minute power nap in the break room or a student lying down for a quick rest between study sessions, the concept of revitalizing oneself with brief naps has become a popular way to cope with the demands of modern life. In fact, research has shown that taking a short nap, ideally between 10 and 30 minutes, can improve alertness, memory, and mood, much like the pirate power naps helped keep sailors sharp in their unpredictable and exhausting environment. The legacy of pirate nap time has even made its way into our understanding of relaxation practices. In cultures across the world, the idea of fitting short rest periods into the day is a growing trend. In Spain, the tradition of the siesta still encourages a midday nap, while in Japan, inamuri allows people to rest in short bursts even in public places. These practices, much like the pirate naps of old, offer an opportunity to recharge and continue with the day, even when faced with the exhaustion of work, study, or daily life. The historical precedent set by pirates, who had no choice but to nap whenever they could, now serves as an example of how important it is to prioritize rest, no matter how busy the day may seem. As you prepare for your own rest tonight, think about how pirates, despite the many hardships they faced, managed to carve out moments of sleep whenever they could. While their naps may have been far from ideal, they serve as a reminder that rest is essential, even in the most chaotic and difficult circumstances. Like pirates of the high seas, we too need those small moments of rest to keep going, to stay alert, and to maintain our energy for whatever lies ahead. Whether it's a short nap during the day or a good night's sleep, we all need to recharge to face the challenges of the next day.